Hi, good afternoon. It's Tony Thompson with NAMBA. It's currently 2:01 Eastern Time. I want to thank you for joining our call, Social Impact Marketing, our webinar for today. Before we get started, we're going to give it just another moment. And for those who are out there, if someone, we're going to do a quick technology check. If someone can just send me an email or raise your hand to let me know that you can see and hear me, that would be great. Great. All right, we're live, ready to go. We're going to give it just 1 second, guys, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Okay, well, it's 2:02 Eastern Time. First and foremost, welcome to today's webinar, Social Impact Marketing, the new frontier for lenders and marketing. I'm Tony Thompson, founder and CEO of NAMBA, but also the president of Cultural Outreach, who's the sponsor for today's webinar. And so I would love to just go ahead and kick it off. And I want to thank you for joining us. As a couple of reminders, first, this webinar is being recorded. So in the next 24 hours, you should be receiving a copy of this webinar as well. Secondly, we want to welcome everyone who's joining us live on Facebook as well. Thanks for tuning in today. And with that, we're going to jump right into the presentation. But before we do that, I want to personally invite each of you to join me and our entire NAMBA family in Orlando, Florida, September the 15th through the 17th for Connect 2022. Connect is the largest conference for real estate and mortgage professionals in the real estate and mortgage industry from a diversity standpoint. What makes this very unique is actually 6 conferences in one. We've got training for originators, for operations executives, for real estate practitioners, for HR practitioners, marketing executives, as well as the C-suite. We've got a tremendous amount of special invitees and special keynote speakers. To learn more about NAMBA Connect, simply go to namba.org and you'll see the list of all the agendas as well as our keynote speakers. We'd love to see you in Orlando with us in September, which is coming up a couple of weeks. Just one quick side note, if you think you're going to be attending or if you want to attend, we are just about sold out of this beautiful hotel as it relates to our room block. So make sure you go ahead and reserve your room because it is isolated and kind of off the beaten path. But once you get there, it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. So look forward to seeing you in September in a couple of weeks. So again, today's webinar, Social Impact Marketing, the new frontier for lenders. I'm Tony Thompson, again, founder and CEO with NAMBA. We also have Asha Hershey that will be joining us as well, who's our digital strategist for Cultural Outreach, which is our multicultural marketing company for NAMBA. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the business case of social impact marketing. What is social impact marketing? The benefits of social impact marketing and lending, and then certainly marketing and lender best practices. So first, we'll key off with the marketplace itself. First and foremost, you're going to hear me say the word multicultural a lot during this presentation. When we say multicultural within NAMBA and our family of companies, we're really representing 4 cohorts: women, millennials, communities of color, so Asian, Latino, African American, Native American where appropriate, and the LGBT community. Combine this cohort of bars and these segments of bars represented last year 3 out of 4 loans that were funded and financed across the industry. So again, women, communities of color, LGBTQ, millennials, 3 out of 4 loans that were purchased, financed, originations were by these cohorts. Another little tidbit to understand and remember is also, did you know that women are the fastest growing cohort as it relates to future buyers over the next 5 years? Tony, why do you say that and how do you know? Well, it's really simple. At NAMBA and Cultural Outreach, we like to lead with data. For the last 3 years, according to NACE, N-A-C-E, the National Association of College Educators, women, females, have enrolled in college at a rate of 2:1 to men. So if you think about the next 4 to 5 years, the marketplace of single women owning and purchasing homes, that will be the largest share of women that will be owning homes over the last 20 years. If you're a lender, how do you tap in and make sure at the end of the day you understand some of these trends? That's what we're going to talk about today. Share with you where we see the marketplace heading, and then what can you do as a lender and a marketer to ultimately, as the great Wayne Gretzky once said, how you're successful, Wayne? He stated simply, I skate to where the puck is headed, not to where the puck is at. Our goal is to help you understand where the market is headed so that you and your organization can pivot, can shift, and have the right content, platform, and ultimately collateral to be able to connect and engage with these multicultural markets. First and foremost, we know the U.S. home buying pool is radically shifting. We know that right now, a substantial population growth over the next 3 years, as well as over the last 3 to 5 years, have came from people of color. So when you add up Latinos, African Americans, Native Americans, Asian mixed couples as well, that has been the fastest and largest cohort of buyers over the last 4 to 5 years. Secondly, 77% of new households over the next decade will come from multicultural markets. And let me say that again, 77% of new household growth over the next decade will come from the multicultural market. Wow. Now, if you're a marketing practitioner today, as I travel around the country, which I'm in a city today, and every city I go to and every CEO I talk to, one of the things they say is, Tony, we need more volume, duh. But at the same time, we need to understand how to tap into markets that we generally did not serve as well over the last 2 to 3 years when we were doing a lot of refinances or when the market was just really raining loans. And so understanding in the next 5 years, here's another reason why, if nothing else, that you understand how to begin to position your company, your brand, and looking at your marketing, is there's a $2.9 trillion opportunity for purchase originations for the multicultural borrowers over the next 5 years. So I'm gonna say that one more time, not a B, but a T, like Tony, 2.9 trillion purchase originations alone in the multicultural market. We're gonna show you where some of those markets are, some of those opportunities, but at the end of the day, how will your organization connect and engage with this segment to be able to get your fair share of that purchase originations, high growth, high potential market opportunity? When you look at market opportunity, a lot of times in our industry, we've heard stats about home ownership rates within different ethnicities. And a lot of times what we like to do is help our partners and help marketers understand that when you see these stats, these are really, if you take them and flip them upside down, they'll really become opportunity. For example, if I were to tell you that there's a market opportunity in each one of the markets that you do today, do business in, that represents a 53 to 57% upside, would that be an opportunity that most of your originators, your sales team, and also as a marketer, would that be a market that you would be interested in trying to tap into? Most people say, absolutely, Tony, where is it? Sign me up. Well, it's the African-American market. If I were to say that there's a 53% opportunity right under your nose today of an upside market in your local market where you do business with across the country, is that a market that you would love to do business in? Most people say, absolutely, Tony, sign me up. What market is that? That's the Latino market. So one of the things that we want you to think about today, and certainly as you start to look at 2023, which is, by the way, right around the corner, is how do you begin to look at and understand opportunities in your market that you can go, whether you're an originator or whether you are a marketer and a lender, you can begin to engage in that has a huge upside opportunity. And then the second question is, how do you serve and engage that market, which we'll talk about some best practices here shortly later on. So for lenders, one of the things that I always say right now, if you want to really at the end of the day be first to market, you got to lean in. And if not now, then when? I always like to say it's better to be proactive versus reactive. And we know that right now we're in a regulatory environment that is focused on affordable lending, focused on improving and growing that home ownership and closing that gap. And so for us, it's a smart play to be proactive versus reactive. Secondly, there's a lot of opportunity within most marketplaces where home equity has risen tremendously over the last 12 to 18 months. How do we help those homeowners, particularly communities of color, let them know that we're here to unleash that wealth building potential to help them, educate them by leveraging that equity in their homes. Third, I think everyone can agree refinance is a pass. While there will be some, even over the next 12 to 18 months, I think we'll see a little dip in rates, but not enough to really make up where every lender can have the type of business or achieve the goals that they plan to really achieve over the next 2 to 3 years. So that makes us say, you have to now begin to pivot. And while everyone knows that we need and they need to grow their purchase business, the question is, where can you get that business? How can you help your lenders? How can you help your organization? Or if you're an originator, how can you build your pipeline? The key to that growth is really simple. The multicultural market is one market that is a large market that, irrespective of every MSA we're in, whether it's housing inventory, whether it's rising rate environment, there will be significant growth in this market. The data says that, it substantiates that. So as an originator, as a marketer, how do you help position your company, your brand, your business to be able to engage and connect with this market? Because although we may be in a slower market, the rate of growth in these segments will continue to grow. And if you understand that, then the benefits of serving this market is you will originate more loans even in a down environment. One of the things we focus on at Cultural Outreach is helping companies to connect to these segments by giving them the right messaging, giving them the right content, helping them on how they present their brands to build trust as an advisor. And then secondly, to educate, which we'll talk about here in a second, these segments, because that's really what they want to do. They want to learn first and know that you care about them before you try to sell to them. Secondly, by supporting these untapped, high growth, high potential segments, you're going to face less regulatory risk. And then third, you're going to do good by doing good, as we say at NAMBA. You're going to be able to help grow home ownership, more home ownership in all the communities that you and your employees live and work in, while also at the same time growing market share and growing profitability. At NAMBA, we call it do good by doing good. So this slide here, guys, just kind of shows you the home ownership rate in terms of race and ethnicities across major markets of country. Again, you will see this on the recording and you'll get this content later on. But the blue line at the top represents non-Hispanic, white, Caucasian homeowners. And then the red line is minority home ownership rate. The green is Asian, the grayish is African-American, and then the orange is Hispanic. And so if you see, the narrowest gap in home ownership is in the LA marketplace when you combine Asian, Latino, and African Americans together. And then the widest gap is a place where I'm headed next week, to Minnesota. But that's the widest gap from a home ownership standpoint when you look at the white home ownership rate versus the African American, Latino, and Hispanic, African American, Asian, Latino, and African American, Asian, and Latino home ownership rate combined. So headed to Minnesota, we got a lot of work to do there, and I'm excited to be working with a couple of lenders up in that marketplace to help them leverage diversity as a competitive advantage. Maybe your market is on here. If not, we can show you, certainly get those stats for you as well. When you look at that particular trend line, what that says is that as an industry, we've got to now look at how we do business differently. As a marketer, you've got to look at how you approach the marketplace differently to help close these gaps. Simply doing what we've always done, which is, hey, we want to cater to the African-American market. Let's put a Black face, let's put some words, some content, and think that that will actually cater to the entire African-American population no longer works. Consumers are more conscious, they are more intentful, and also they are looking at different things from different companies in terms of what they want as a consumer. That behavior is changing more and more thanks to the great pandemic, where consumer buying patterns have shifted, as well as how they do business. They want to do business now with companies that share the same values, that care about what they do and what they care about, and then most importantly, that helps them feel like they are important, creates a great experience from a client experience in terms of that journey. So one of the things that we share with our partners is, even when you're looking at segmentation marketing, meaning Latinos, African Americans, Asian, when people say minority home ownership, the first thing that comes to mind for most originators or lenders or CEOs or marketing executives, first-time home buyers. And while first-time home buyer is a market, really at the end of the day, it is a sub-market of a greater market. Tony, what do you mean? What are you saying? So if you think about it, all African Americans are not first-time home buyers. There are also African Americans that are move up and professional buyers, and how you connect in the journey that they want to experience as a client will be radically different than how they want to experience that journey as a first-time home buyer. And conversely, if that African American borrower is a high net worth affluent borrower, they will have a different set of expectations, a different journey, a different client experience that they would want to experience. And this is where, truth be told, a lot of the companies drop the ball because they do one size fits all marketing. And what we're here to say is, that's the old framework, excuse me, that's the old school of doing business. The new school is recognizing that every client journey is unique, every client is unique, and then most importantly, there are segments within that segment that will require you to connect and engage differently with them in each step of the journey in order to, one, earn and keep their business, and then two, to benefit from referrals from these segments as well. So when you think about the current framework of the mortgage industry that we are in, you know, we have the status quo, which is how we used to do business, or how some lenders still do business today. And then the new paradigm is where we're trying to help lenders understand this is where the puck is headed. And you need to look at thinking about how you view certain things within the business that will ultimately give you a competitive advantage as a marketer. First, understanding that we need to move from looking at risk to opportunity. Again, risk is first-time home buyers, perception, hard credit, low FICO scores, you know, everybody's a manual underwrite. That's simply not the case. There are over 2 million minority buyers who are ready to purchase a home today and credit worthy. However, because of our past thoughts, when anyone hear first-time home buyer, when they hear LMICRA, we all think that that may perception in some instances on the old model is that's risk. We've got to be careful how we underwrite the files. What we need to ask is the new paradigm, how do we look at this market as opportunity? How do we get more customers who are in this segment, whether it is first-time home buyer, whether it's move-up buyers, whether it's a high net affluent in our market? How do we see this as an opportunity? A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a CEO, and he was saying, Tony, we look at our application denial rates and each quarter, and it gives us a good understanding of, you know, making sure that we're lending to Asians, Latino, African Americans, and to the multicultural community. And then my question to that CEO was quite simple. Have you ever thought about the people who did not apply to your institution, and what about those individuals? Because ultimately that's the opportunity, is how do you reach more of those individuals? And if you look and ask the question, yes, we may have had this cohort within African American, but man, How many African Americans within our MSA in terms of opportunity are we missing because they really didn't apply because they couldn't engage with us from a marketing standpoint? In terms of how we approach the business, instead of being reactive, it's time to be proactive. One of the things I tell companies today, and if you're a marketer or you're an originator looking at how you differentiate yourself, lean in. Now's the time to be proactive with understanding the data and the statistics that I shared earlier in this presentation. They aren't going anywhere. Those are facts. So if you understand that the marketplace is going to be shifting, 3 out of 4 consumers who purchase and finance a home are going to be multicultural, how can you build your business model? How can you look at your marketing platform and service those customers better because of the opportunity to grow with that high growth, high potential market? Third, understanding the role of diversity is not just to say we're all about diversity, but it's to use diversity as a competitive advantage. Tony, what do you mean? As an organization, you got to look at and take advantage of your employees, how they can help you understand and how to connect to the marketplace, as well as connecting with key stakeholders out in the marketplace that potentially you haven't worked with in the past, but you need to work with in order to get a really good feel for what the consumer wants in terms of focusing on the consumer experience, and most importantly, each of the consumers within those segments: African American, Latina, Asian, LGBTQ. Third, again, this is where a lot of marketers and a lot of lenders really miss the boat. They focus on generic marketing. Generic marketing is old school. Generic marketing is dead. Let me say that again. Generic marketing, rest in peace. Now you've got to build multicultural marketing on demand. You've got to recognize and understand that every client journey is unique, and you've got to build your marketing platform, your engagement platform, your collateral, your content, your messaging has to now begin to look at segmentation. Third, leveraging how you use information from being static and looking at it and applying it one way. Again, hey, Tony, we're looking at all the people who apply and work for us in terms of their applications to see how we're servicing the multicultural market, to dynamic. Stop looking at what you have and look at what you don't have and the opportunities that you're missing, and let those drive your decisions on what you do, how you do, and implement your marketing strategies to get more of that business you don't have. And then last but not least, instead of collaborating, instead of doing communication one way, meaning looking at how you engage with the customer, looking at the customer journey. Now more than ever, consumers want to use text, they want to use the phone, they want to use video, they want to use email, and then ultimately they want to see you. Each one of those omni-channel approaches are different based on the age groups, based on the ethnicity, and also based on the clientele of the potential borrower, meaning their net worth. So it is important to create a dynamic way through marketing for them to engage, stay engaged, and most importantly, educate, connect, and serve those particular clients in a collaborative way. So in order to do that, now more and more as a marketing, you have to become a business partner to your organization. The way you do that is understanding data, turning that data into insights, and then to action. Action focusing on how you are going to create a engagement plan for each one of your cohorts: women, millennials, communities of color, LGBTQ. All of those will need a specific action plan that is built on through insights and data that is accumulated from focusing on each of those segments differently than looking at all of those segments at the same time. And so from that, it's important that you are able to quantify your opportunity, define your value proposition and your why, but also at the same time, set and prioritize how are you going to create that journey which is what we do at Cultural Outreach, and helping companies to understand how to create the journeys for each one of those segments we talked about. And then last but not least, creating and building down the strategies for each one of those segments. And then most importantly, obviously acting, failing fast, learning, and then pivoting to make the changes that you need to create a great seamless client experience, which will result in more referrals from a purchase origination perspective. This chart here again shows the 2.9, some of the markets of $2.9 trillion opportunity. Hopefully you see your market, but you know what this shows again, guys, if you look at it going across for both the Asian, African-American, Latino, Native American, Island Pacific market, there's a huge opportunity in just about every city. You know, when you look at a New York, you know, there's a $527 billion opportunity over the next 5 years. I live in Orlando, Florida, $115 billion opportunity. You know, wow, I'm just now realizing that 10 billion of that is through the African-American community. 40 billion of that is in the Latino community. Those are a lot of great purchase originations, because the average loan amount in Orlando is about maybe 250, I think, or so. So when you look at that, if I'm an originator in Orlando, how do I begin to understand my market? That truly, while you live in the market, do you really understand the market and where those demographics are headed? And that's what this is all about, is helping you to understand, here's where the puck is headed, and what do we need to do to make sure that we're going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity in these high growth, high potential markets. This just kind of shows that also within every market, as you saw when I was going and gave the analogy within Orlando, I think for the Latino market, it was about 40 or 45 billion. And then it was about 10 billion of opportunity for the African-American market. And so that's what this chart really illustrates, is that for every market within that multicultural segment, based on the market dynamics, the geography, the region, the cities, the MSAs, you may have a higher propensity and opportunity of African-Americans versus Latinos versus Asian. In some markets may be a high propensity of Asian versus you know, African-Americans or Native Americans. But in every market, we know that there is nothing but upside opportunity for each one of these multicultural segments. And the question is, what are you doing as a lender, as a marketer, to really position your organization to support these markets, help your originators close more loans by being able to connect and engage with them. So how do you do that, Tony? First, you got to build strategies that have a 360 insight. What do I mean by that is you have to begin to think about where and how you do business today, and how consumers in each one of these segments want you to do business with them as they move forward. So from a sales and marketing standpoint, some question to ask yourself is, do you have the right messaging and the right media? That's what we do at Cultural Outreach. Are you providing your customers with the support they need in terms of that journey? From a mobile standpoint, from a customer feedback in terms of after the loan is closed, what's your mechanism to get feedback so that you can understand from a marketing standpoint how to embed processes in that life or journey of the customer, while before they get the mortgage, when they're in the process of getting the mortgage, and after they get the mortgage. From products and programs, what are product gaps that your company may or may not have, that you may not be aware of, that you need to support these multicultural segments? And then are there other DPAs or HFFAs that you can work with to, again, connect you to this high growth, high potential market? From a resource allocation standpoint, you know, first and foremost, what are the origination goals that you have across your borrower segments? Again, one of the biggest things that if you are a lender or a marketer today, do not approach your thought process that all Latinos are the same, all African Americans are to be marketed to the same. We're here to say now that is an old school way of thinking. There's a new term that we've coined. It's called multicultural marketing on demand. Multicultural marketing on demand, MMOD, is all about understanding that every client has a different journey, and really a different expectations of how they want you to engage with them. What are the sales coverage? Not only do you need the right content, the right collateral, the right messaging, but you need the right people to help deliver that as well to build and establish trust with the markets that you're looking to grow in. Third, how do you make sure that your agents know that you're here to help them to connect to this market as well and provide them, along with your originators, the right collateral to co-market together to build and establish themselves as those high trusted advisors in their local markets to acquire the customer from a real estate perspective, as well as from a lending perspective. And then last but not least, what other partners can you look at? We call them stakeholders at Cultural Outreach. What other stakeholders can you look at to engage in to, again, deliver feedback to you as an organization at that local level of what you need to do, how your brand is perceived in the marketplace. We're working with a lender or a partner that is a partner, a client of Cultural Outreach. And a while back, this client was looking to do advertising on billboards. And one of the things that they wanted to do was to say, hey, we're ABC lender. You're a hometown lender for the last 50 years. And, one of our feedbacks was to this lender is, if I'm in the African-American community, I'm driving down the street and I see this billboard saying we're your hometown lender for the last 50 years, will that resonate with me? If your organization hasn't been involved in the community, if your organization hasn't been engaged in first-time home buyer seminars, hasn't been engaged in collateral where I can see me owning a home, I can see people like me going through that process, then will that message really resonate? So we were able to help our partner understand that they needed to tweak their message to, one, begin to build and establish trust by saying that we want to be part of the community, we're committed to be part of the community, and essentially establishing themselves with trust before they ask for the business, before they say that they are that hometown lender, although they may have a large market share overall in that MSA, they don't have and didn't have at the time a large market share within the multicultural community. So that's where that message and the money that they would have been spending on billboards would have really went through deaf ears or been tone deaf, because that consumer, that multicultural consumer, would not have ultimately connected and resonated with that messaging. So as we go along, guys, if you have some questions, shoot those to me. We'll try to answer those through the chat function here in another few minutes or so. So one of the things that you can do is understand how to take action and insight. And the way to do that is, one, understand the voice of the customer internally, which is your sales teams and your sales partners, as well as the voice of the customer externally, which are your realtors and your key stakeholders. What are they saying? What are they telling you? The feedback that they're giving, so that you can understand how to tweak your marketing, how to build a great customer experience for each segment. And a lot of times, you've heard me say that a couple of times now, it's not really hard to do once you do it. And so going through that process is really a great opportunity to uncover gaps in how you market, what you market, and really how you engage with that consumer in terms of their journey. Because now more than ever, as a marketing professional or as an originator or a lender, your number of at-bats with the number of clients that are looking to purchase is now more than ever important. Meaning there are fewer at-bats today than there were 6 months ago. And although there's a $2.9 trillion market, if you are not in the right part of the market to have those at-bats opportunity, then you're really going to limit your opportunity and limit your ability to help your sales team and your organization grow, because you're not creating the right journey of engagement and also taking that client down the right experience to ultimately help them be successful. Third, what barriers and bridges do you have that you need to understand can help provide, from a marketing standpoint, an opportunity for the organization to grow purchase originations? How can you look at the housing supply stock, and instead of talking about low inventory, talking about how and what consumers can do, and giving them resources to help them, with the process, with the assistance of their agent, find a home? help them educate what additional resources are out there around down payment assistance, around first-time home buyer assistance that they can leverage to help reduce the amount of money, but also help to purchase a home in a rising rate environment, in a more inflationary environment as well. And then last but not least, again, looking at from a debt education standpoint, as well as, notice I said debt education, not debt counseling. So from a debt financial literacy education, from a financial awareness education, how do you help to communicate and connect with the borrower first around building trust? Every year at Cultural Outreach, we do a survey of 1,100 millennials who purchase a home. We're currently in the midst of doing our 2022 survey, but in last year's survey, out of 1,100 respondents, 28% of the millennials we surveyed said that at the end of the day, when they went through the entire mortgage process, moved into their homes, they actually feel like they trusted that their lender did the right thing by them. Only 28%. So what that means is, guys, we have an opportunity to build a higher level of trust, and that comes through the engagement, that comes through not just reaching out and selling rates or selling closing costs, but really showing our commitment as a high trust advisor to help them understand how to build and create wealth through home ownership. And when we do that, that level of trust goes up substantially, which also will, basically result in more referrals. So again, understand how to take actions and turn those actions into insights. And then last but not least, you want to set goals and develop strategies using data, using the insights, and then most importantly, asking these questions. How do our application denial and origination rates compare between borrower groups in the marketplace? Again, if you don't know that information, these are things that we can help you with at Cultural Outreach. Do we have the right products? Have you ever considered doing a market survey from consumers on what they want and what they need versus telling them what you have to offer? How do we look at underwriting? Making sure you're as you service this community, your organization has, through an underwriting standpoint, the ability to understand cultural competency and the different nuances from an underwriting standpoint, from cultures in terms of cultural norms, whether it's saving habits, whether it's living together, having generational buyers together. You're going to see that a lot now. Just like you have the gig economy, you've got the generation family in the gig family that is really going to be something that lenders have to look at to make sure that we can provide the right products and services to this burgeoning marketplace. A lot of people living with multiple family members and or multiple partners or friends to save up for that home or to buy a home together and then ultimately buy another home. So as you look at that and you think about your marketing and you think about the market opportunity, it is important to kind of put together an assessment and take a look at, again, where you are today, where those gaps are, and then most importantly, how do you help, how do you close those gaps? We call that our cultural outreach plan, where you can really, at the end of the day, take a holistic assessment, step back, get a 360 view of the marketing, not from your perception, but from a third party, from your clients, from your referral sources, even from your potential originators who may think about working at your organization. They are your best sources of telling you, hey, this is some of the gaps that I see when I see your company. And then how do we tweak those gaps and how do we ultimately make the branding, the messaging more on point for each segment of the multicultural marketplace. So as we close out, if you're a marketing executive, some pillars of change and drivers of success is first, understand that you have to become a change agent. Now more than ever, lean in with the marketing. If you were to say, Tony, what's the fastest way that lenders can really increase their volume? It's really simple. Change the way they market. I just said there's a $2.9 trillion opportunity to women, millennials, communities of color, LGBTQ. But most companies' marketing strategy is a one-size-fits-all. Understand we're in a new era, a new paradigm. Two, success is all about collaboration. Don't just talk about what you want to provide to your clients, but really at the end of the day, what are your originators, what are their referral sources, and what are your key community stakeholders need to be able to have you to be that referral choice, have you to be the, have them to be the ambassador for your brand. What do they need to be able to do that out in the marketplace? Third, again, be prepared for complex challenges and solutions. I just like to say, try things, fail fast, and learn. That's what we encourage our partners to do at Cultural Outreach and NABA. We test, we fail, we learn, we pivot. 4, know that your team needs data, tools, and resources to be successful. I like to say that your team needs to have the right marketing content for each of the segments that they're trying to serve in order to compete and ultimately win the client. Remember, because we're in a rising rate environment, because there's limited inventory, because there's consumer confidence is lacking right now in terms of, is this the right time to actually buy a home? Every at bat your originators have, every at bat you have from a marketing standpoint to engage a consumer, you have to be spot on, because there are less opportunities today than there was 6 months ago. And then last but not least, set those clear priorities, objectives, and then make sure that you can measure and quantify those so that you can measure your success. Rome was not built in a day, but it was built. So it's important to understand that you have to have clear priorities of, okay, this is where we have gaps. Here's what we're going to do to help close those. And then here's how we're going to measure that over a period of time. And again, we have a process called our Cultural Outreach Plan, which takes a comprehensive 360-degree approach to help companies understand that. Best practices for multicultural marketing. Create a multicultural journey for each segment. We talked about it a little bit, but if you want to learn more, we can help you understand what that is and how that looks like. Leverage education, learning, and resources to establish trust for the company, for the brand, to help your originators build and establish themselves as a trusted advisor. You know, every time I speak and when I do conferences, I talk to originators and I say, you know, educate, 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 then sell. A lot of originators right now want to sell, sell, sell. And when you go and approach the sell, 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 you're immediately not building and establishing trust. Again, 1,100 millennials said, look, man, after going through an entire mortgage process, moving into my home, I still didn't believe my loan originator did, or my lender did the right thing for me. So it's about education and learning and building and establishing trust, and then selling and closing and referring. 3, understand that you cannot move forward and win by creating general content for each segment. That is really old school. As kids and teenagers would say, that's not cool, it's not hip. So if you want to be cool and want to be hip, do not create general marketing content. Last but not least, look at conducting a marketing assessment to really get a non-biased third-party approach of how does your brand look, what are the gaps that your brand has, what are the perceived reputations that you have. A lot of lenders don't know, a lot of marketing executives don't know what their reputation is in the marketplace. And that's something that we help our partners with at Cultural Outreach through our Cultural Outreach assessment called the Cultural Outreach Plan. For companies that are really looking to create a holistic market strategy and to really, at the end of the day, position themselves as a premier lender to the multicultural marketplace, we've created a program called the ACEL certification at NAMBA and our NAMBA family of companies. The ACEL stands for the Accredited Social Impact Lender. Think of it as the new J.D. Power or the ESPYs. I was reading about Steph Curry being the host of the ESPYs this week. So think of it as the new J.D. Power or the ESPYs for mortgage lenders and banks and lenders. And essentially, it's really at the end of the day, the new J.D. Power for social impact. Within ACEL, our goal is to help companies do good by doing good. It is a year-long process that we come in and we work with the organization really over 10 different areas and 10 different assessments. We look at things that you're doing well, your gaps, we develop action plans, as well as best practices. And then we really break it down into 4 areas. Human capital, so talent acquisition, how you recruit. Did you know a lot of recruits, when they think about joining a company, they're looking at your marketing, they're looking at your collateral, your brand assets, et cetera. Can I see myself working there? Does that company really makes me feel inclusive and welcome to be a part of their organization? Retention, now more than ever, attracting and retaining great talent, compensation, DEI plans are all in the human capital portion of the ASO process. Then from a marketing standpoint, we conduct an entire comprehensive 360 review of your platform, websites, your brand assets, social media, your marketing, your programs, your products, all in an effort of, if I'm a multicultural consumer, can I see myself doing business with your company? If I'm a multicultural referral source, i.e. realtor, builder, community stakeholder, can I see myself sending clients to your company? And last but not least, if I'm a multicultural employee and I'm thinking about a different platform, can I see myself working for your organization? Profitability is real simple. Every company is focused on that right now. We help you understand where the purchase opportunities are in the multicultural markets. And then through the marketing best practices, some of our benchmarking and proprietary tools, we develop concrete action plans to help you get your fair share of that $2.9 trillion market opportunity. And then last but not least, on the social impact, we make sure that we help you look at your lending profile in terms of the products, the programs that you're doing relative to your peers, so that when you have a regulatory review, you can stay out of trouble as well. When you go through that process, all 10 steps, ultimately you end up with the ASO certification. Every year we come back in and update your playbook, but ultimately you've got a go-to-market strategy that is comprehensive, intentional, that gets real results. Third, it allows you to attract talent. Third, it provides you with great benchmarking data. And last but not least, it helps you to grow market share and profitability by connecting to the high growth, high potential markets that we talked about earlier. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to have you join our network, our movement. Right now, we're going to open it up for any questions. If you have a question, send those through the chat function and we'll try to read those and answer those for you, since we have a few minutes left in our webinar today. Excuse me. Let's see here. Saw a great speech you did in Richmond, Virginia. Do you have any other data or insight into reaching these cohorts of bars on YouTube? Hey, Cameron, thank you for joining today's webinar. Shout out to Richmond, Virginia. By the way, we're getting ready to open up and launch a Newport Beach, Virginia Beach, Newport News, Hampton Roads chapter in August. So make sure you're on the lookout for that for any of your friends in Virginia. One of the things we talked about at our Connect tour recently was the cultural survey that we did, the 2021 Millennial Home Buyer. And yes, out of 1,100 participants, again, we surveyed 1,100 millennials across the country, all ethnicities, all MSAs. And what we found was 92%, 92, it blew my mind. I mean, this was crazy, but 92% indicated that they started their journey on YouTube. And so one of the things we're working with our partners is to understand that the way that today's bars, or the bars that we just talked about earlier, millennials, communities of color who are millennial, women who are millennial, as well as LGBTQ, they are starting their process of engaging and learning about a mortgage and real estate transaction on YouTube. Why YouTube is really simple. First and foremost, it goes back to that trust. Remember, 28% said that they trusted the lender did the right thing at the end of the day once they closed and moved into their home. So therefore, they want to seek to learn about the mortgage process, the real estate process, before they pick up a phone, before they go to a website to call a company. They want to do research themselves. And if you think about this cohort, guys, they're always on their phones, they're always on their tablets, and these are the borrowers of the future. Let me say this again. These are the borrowers of the future. So again, multicultural marketing, Facebook, old school, not cool. YouTube, new school, hip, cool, connecting, establishing your brand as a trusted advisor. And then from there, you got to start looking at Instagram as a new channel for how you connect with this market. Over the next 3 to 5 years, it's all about Instagram, YouTube first, Instagram, and then last but not least, it's about the tick in the top. Yes, you got it, TikTok. I was reading on a plane this morning when I was flying out to where I'm at today. I was astounded at how much money people are making off of TikTok. Yes, and so I started thinking about all the dances and moves that I could do, just joking. But my whole point is TikTok is also the next frontier of where you're going to engage, because Gen Z, millennials and Gen Z are all on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and that's the next decade. Not going to change, guys. Let's see, we got another question come in here. Great. Thanks, Cameron. You love NAMBA. We love you too, man. And please spread the word about our Hampton Roads chapter. Again, anyone else, before we close out, if you have a question, just simply send that through the chat function. We'll try to answer that really quick here. As a reminder, guys, again, this session is being recorded, so you'll get that. So on behalf of Cultural Outreach and our NAMBA family of companies, I want to thank you today for joining me and talking about multicultural marketing. If you want to learn more about that for you and your organization, let's see, one more, just connect with me at tony.thompson@namba.org, or you can connect with me online at LinkedIn as well. This concludes our presentation. I hope the rest of your week is a great week, and we look forward to seeing you on a webinar soon. Take care, guys. Thank you.